Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to the workshop. It is new tool day, and the tool I want to show you today is this one. You may have seen my sort of coming soon video on my YouTube channel, maybe last week or so. But I've had this in my hands for about a week for testing. So I thought we'd have a look at this in more detail. I think you might have seen some of Dspiae's promotional videos across the internet as well. So the new tool is the Multi-Purpose Processing Assistance Platform, which is a little bit of a mouthful, but the designation is ATAP for short. Been using it for about a week or so, and very interesting that they've amalgamated several tools into one multi-tool, which is in effect what it is. I found some of the tools that maybe I've been using separately are very useful in one place. So I think it's certainly going to find a space on my bench. Packaging wise, let's just show you the other edges. Just show you some of the tools in profile on the rest of the box. Yeah. Speaking of box, very robust. It's the usual high quality from Dspiae. So this will get into your hands, in perfect condition if you decide it's for you. So let's get it out of the box, and we'll have a look at each of the tools in detail. So you get an instruction leaflet. You also get an Allen key, which I'll come to in a second, and the device itself. So let's put the box over there as usual. So there you go. Now that's the actual device itself. That's the assistance platform, as they call it. But it's a multi-tool. As you can see in my hand, it is very, very compact. How compact? That's a very good question. Hang on. It does tell you the dimensions. It's 62 by 42 by 42 millimeters and weighs 160 grams. So very, very, very compact. As I say, no problems finding a space for this on my bench. In fact, I just keep it in one of my storage drawers. I just reach for it when I need it. Very convenient for certain jobs. So what I thought we'd do is have a look at the instruction leaflet first, because it does give you full instructions on how each one of these tools works. So we'll go through that, then we'll actually go back and then go through each tool and show you in action how this guy actually performs. So the kind of tools they've built in includes a vertical drill. You can also do concentric drilling. There's also a cutout for doing angle cutting and sanding. There's a tool for sticking plastic sheets together in various at various angles, including 30, 45, 90 and a 60 degree angle if you need it. They've also built in a outside chamfering tool. Turning over, we also have what they call a fixed width cutting. It's basically a jig, again, which you can fit bits of plastic iron into, or indeed any part that you need to, and then you can do accurate cutting and also accurate scribing and cut grooves in it. That's very very useful. They have a full fixed angle cutting device as well. And interestingly, they also have another jig on top. Basically, you can take any kind of rod, say styrene rods, for instance, put them in the jig, and then basically plane or sand off one face, and then you have a semicircle. And the other jig is you can put a square piece of plastic or styrene rod into the jig. Again, shave a face off and you get a triangle. So if you're doing sort of a lot of modifications to parts like that, and you either haven't got semicircles and triangle pieces of rod, you can make them with this jig. So let's go back to the first one, and we'll go through these in order, so you can see how each one works. So the first one then is vertical cutting. Right, so let's take a piece of rod. So standard piece of styrene rod. This one's a 3mm diameter, and that's important to note for later on. So 3mm. So it's a solid rod. So if you wanted to drill a hole in that face, how would you go about that? That's what the first jig is all about. Now, if I show you this, if I just tilt this to get rid of the shadow, you can see inside there, it says a perpendicular drilling. Yeah. So what you do is mark wherever you want your hole to go. It goes in this side of the jig, and you flip it. And let me just get a drill, and that's the drill hole. Yeah. Now, of course, it's Dspiae. They've made this drill hole so it fits their their drills perfectly, particularly the shaft. So if you have this drill already on your bench, happy days, because it'll fit perfectly into this hole. It locks in, and there's very little wobble there, so you can drill a really accurate perpendicular hole if you need to. If you haven't got this particular drill with these shafts, and don't forget these shafts are 3.17. Many of you have got the electric sander, of course, which has a similar jig, but you can get different sizes of heads. If you haven't got this, you may have an issue with drilling this absolutely perpendicular, because obviously there'll be too much wobble. But if you happen to have this guy, you fit that into the jig, and off you go to drill your hole. Now, I won't go all the way through. I'll just do that. And if you can see, bring this right to the camera, there's your perpendicular hole, perfectly aligned on this piece of styrene rod. So that's perpendicular drilling. Now, of course, what happens if you want to drill the end here? How do you do that? And also, how do you do that so the hole is absolutely central? A couple of things that they've created with this. Now, on this end, you have this jig arrangement. That's a knob which you can undo. So this thing's actually spring loaded. Let me take that off. As you can see, these are springs. Yeah. Now, let me just take these off for a second, because I want to show you inside. Now, let me bring that as close as I can. Now, you can see that graduated measure there. That gives you various marks on, so you can set the height of this jig to the diameter of the rod that you want to drill. Yeah, because obviously you need to be able to hold the drill in place and the styrene rod, so you get perfectly aligned holes. And that goes from, if memory serves, it is marked up to start with 1.5 all the way up to 10.5. So you can drill it. So you can drill basically a concentric hole in the end of 10.5 millimeter styrene rods as a maximum. Now, let me just have a look at this for a sec. Now, you notice holes are all over this thing. Now, there are a couple of grub screws. That's one. There's a grub screw inside each of these recesses. Yeah. I'll come to that in a second. And what I've done, I haven't done these completely, but they do allow you to use different kinds of drills, not just good old Dspiae. Because again, this hole is perfectly aligned for Dspiae's drill. Of course, fits the shaft perfectly. Again, tiny amounts of movement there. So if you need the accuracy, within literally fractions of a millimeter, you need to drill an actual concentric circle in the end of something. Then obviously this guy is perfect, but. These grub screws do allow you to use a different drill bit, and I'll show you that in a second. So let's just reassemble this. Oops, let's not throw that away. So that goes on like that. So it's spring loaded. So this is a 3 mil. So on the right hand side, it starts off as 1.5. Now the right hand side goes up in 1 mils. And the left hand side goes up in 5 mils. So that's how you set it. So if I go up one, that's 2.5, and up one on the other side, that gets me to 3 mil, and then tighten that up. And it is literally in with your, let's get that a bit cleaner. In with your drill, hold it in place with your finger. You can see that, yeah. And then off you go. So let's see how that's got on. Let me drill a little bit more. It's not quite hard to see. Let me do a little bit more. And If you can see on the end there, that's the perpendicular drill tool, perfectly in center. Yeah, so that's how you do the measurements on the actual jig itself. Now, what if you didn't have one of these with this specific diameter of bit? So let's get another one out. So let's. Many of you have got this kind of thing, lots of different bits which do not have a 3.17 shaft on them. So let me get a fairly small one out of my box of drill bits. So let's use this guy, for instance. Yeah, so it's very different to him. Yeah, so let's put this one in the drill. So let's grip this guy. Okay, so of course you now put this in, loads and loads of movement, yeah, all over the place. So how on earth are you going to hold that? That's where these grub screws come in. One at the top, these on each side. So what you do is you tighten up the grub screw each side. It basically allows you to compress, or at least hold the drill bit in place. It's not as good as having the actual Dspiae one, not surprisingly, of course, but obviously this matches all of their existing tools, particularly their drill. But if you didn't have that, if you had I think I do have one, hang on a sec, if you just had a standard pin vise with obviously various drill bit sizes, it isn't going to be 3.17, is it? So that's what the grub screws are for. So you can tighten these up, so in effect it stops all this lateral movement, or at least the vast majority of it. So you should be able to drill a pretty accurate concentric hole in the end of whatever you do to. It doesn't obviously not just a rod, with minimal lateral movement, because these grub screws go all the way down to, they touch each other, so you can hold this pretty good. It isn't as good as this, absolutely not. But there is a workaround, and that's quite useful as an addition, just in case you want to use different kinds of drill bits. And of course, it may be the case that the actual diameter of the drill that you're looking for doesn't exist with this kind of with this diameter of drill shaft, of course. So that's a very useful workaround I found, which was quite nice to see. It wasn't a case of you have to buy the Dspiae drill for this to work. That's not the case at all. But if you do want the ultimate in accuracy, then yeah, this guy matches obviously the concentric drilling and also the perpendicular drilling as well. So that's those two. Then we get to this face. Where is he? Lost him. This face here. So this is basically a way that you can cut angles. So let me just go and get a piece of plastic on. So in effect, this guy sort of goes into that angle there, and then let me get me saw. Got a Dspiae saw again. Hasn't got to be a Dspiae saw, but if you happen to have one, it's very useful for obviously for all of this. Now, and there you are, I'm shooting off. So that's for a nice angle cut. Of course, also you could put this in the jig and use it for sanding as well. If you happen to have say the Dspiae sanders or whatever else in a handle, you can use that face there for cutting lots of angles, and also for sanding. So that's that one. Now we get to some interest. Let me get some of the debris off. Let's do that. Now the next tool is the plastic sheet angled joining tool, which is this one on the end here. Let me just get that off. Let me just show you that. So let me show you on the end. So it's this V shape. Yeah. So in effect, you get a jig for joining plastic art together in various angles. Now the actual instructions are very good in showing you exactly how to orientate each piece of card. Let me just bring that close to the camera so you can see that. I won't actually demonstrate sticking pieces of plastic together, but that's how the jig works. So if you do need to stick pieces of card together, plastic card, or indeed anything else that needs a specific angle, this jig could work quite nicely for you. As I say, it goes from a 30-degree angle when you're using this recess here. Also a 90, a 45, and you can also do a 60. So it pretty much covers a lot of the various angles which you're likely to want to use. Now, next one is chamfering. Now, if I wanted to say take the end off that and chamfer it, literally take some off. That's what this tool is in the end here. That's what this recess is. So it is literally that, because inside there is a blade, and it's literally in you go and rotate the rod, and you can feel that taking material off. And I don't know if you can make that out in I guess my t-shirt. Can you make that out? So it's chamfered off just the end there, which is quite useful. I would say there's a lot of lateral movement here. You need to take some time to rotate this slowly to keep it to keep that level and at 90 degrees. Otherwise it's going to be all over the place, isn't it? So it works to a degree. It'd be nice to see some kind of clamping area to clamp this into place, so when you're rotating it, it doesn't go anywhere. Because obviously, if you get this wrong and you're doing all this business, the chamfer is going to be all over the place. But if you're careful to keep this all level and do it very slowly, it does take some material off, and it does chamfer the end. Although I will link to a tool in the description. There's obviously a new chamfering tool which Dspiae have just put out. They released this thing, and also the chamfering tool. So that video is in the description if you want to check that out. Okay, so moving on. Next we have what they call the fixed width cutting. Now this is basically these here. I can show you the dimensions first there, and I'll tip it in these grooves. That's really what this jig is. Yeah. So for instance, if I've got let me reach for another piece of card. So the card would fit, for instance, into that slot. So that's say into a 4mm there. That's the 4mm slot. Now the idea is to be on my bench. Of course, this would be in place. And what I'll probably do is put it on my block, just to bring it a bit higher so I can see what I'm doing. So that would be like that. Now, for instance, if I wanted to make a cut, I know I can use the jig. Everything is in place, and I can cut across that plane, and I know it's very, very accurate. Yeah, I can keep going until, obviously, I won't cut it all the way through, but you get the idea. It's also useful, of course, if you want to hold something in place and you have a scribing tool, for instance. You want to scribe right on that bottom edge there. Brilliant for that, because obviously it is a jig where you can actually do that. It's possible with a standard vise, but this is quite useful because you can keep all this. This is actually the wrong size. It's moving around too much. But if you've got the right size, put some pressure on it on that edge. You can see you can get a very, very nice cut or a very, very nice scribe on that edge. The other thing that they also have here is on the other side. As you can see, these recesses are different shapes. As I said in the introduction, this is how you basically machine rods. So the rod would go into say there, for instance. You hold that in place. Obviously, this is way too big for the slot, and then basically shave off, sand off or machine off that face, and then the rod becomes a semicircle. Likewise, if you put on the other side, it's got a space for square versions of this guy. Again, shave it off, and you get a triangle shape. But it's not just obviously these things. If you can put literally anything that will fit in there, if you need to machine it. That's why it's a multi-tool. But you know, it is ultimately designed for making semicircles and triangle pieces of card or pieces of rod. Next up is the fixed angle, which is on this side. Let me just show you that. Very nicely machined, this guy, very accurate. I will say that the build quality on this is also very good indeed. You know, it's got a weight to it, which I liked. It's in Dspiae's usual anodized alloy of some description. They have put a coating on it, which you may have seen on their promotional ads, just to give it this sort of silver finish. And I would say, it will come off. When I was testing this and using this tool, my saw slipped and it took off some of the coating. Hasn't damaged the actual tool itself, so that angle hasn't suddenly been damaged by a slip. It's just took off the coating. So I expect this to get sort of dinged and scratched, etc. But the actual tool itself will still perform and give you the accuracy. I mean, I've dropped it a few times and the corners have been absolutely fine. It's just, I think over time, cosmetically, it's going to look a bit tired, but the actual machining on it, all of these knobs and buttons and all the rest of it, it's machined very, very well. So it'll still be accurate, in years to come. So let's have a look at this one. As you'd expect, it is a standard, pretty much mitre box in effect, an angle cut as they call it, which gives you 30, 60, 75, and 45 degree on here. And also, of course, you can also do obviously do a straightforward cut right down the middle, which I won't do. What I'll do is I'll take my big bit of card, and what I'll do is I'll pick say the 75 degree using my obviously my Dspiae saw, which not surprisingly works very, very well with this guy. So there we have it. There's the angle, beautifully cut. Also works fine with these tubular parts as well. So let's go 45 for this one. There. Oh, there it is. And there's your 45. Beautifully cut, very, very accurate, which is what we're all about, of course. And of course, that was the one that I drilled the concentric circle in the end. So you can see that's a concentric circle right in the middle on a 45 degree cut of a plastic rod, styrene rod. Superb. So that's that one. We've already covered the semicircle and angular rod for the triangular rod. So that is all of them. So in effect, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tools in one in this multi-tool. What I would say also, while we were talking about the chamfering, so there's a blade in there, and that's what the Allen key is for again. And you can see just on there, those are the 2 grub screws to get the blade out. And there'll be a link in the description on the site to spare blades. But that's how you get those 2 grub screws out, so you can replace the blade. So that's the multi-tool from Dspiae. I felt, yes, the build quality very nice in the hand. I've used it a few times for various various things. So I think the measure of this, of course, is going to be how many times you reach for it. I think that's the key with this guy. And also, if you have many of these tools already as separate tools, which of course many of us do, like the angle cutting, for instance, then the question then becomes: would you dispose of those or stop using them, and then you have one tool in your hand for all occasions? That's a good question. And I think that's something that you have to you all have to ask yourself that. Is it worth the investment to amalgamate all of those tools into one multi-tool with 9 different tools available? It's an interesting one. I've seen a few multi-tools over the years, but certainly not one with this many built-in tools and not to this kind of build quality. You can imagine if this was made out of plastic, it would be awful, wouldn't it? It really would not work very well indeed. It may give you the tools, but it certainly wouldn't give you the quality. And I'm always looking for that accuracy. What's it doing for your workflow as a model maker, and if these tools are going to stand up for long-term use. There's nothing on my store that doesn't cover all of those, and I kid you not, I test hundreds of tools every year, and most of them go in the bin because they are absolutely hopeless. Wouldn't even dream excuse me wouldn't even dream of putting those tools in front of you guys because they are just awful. But again, from Dspiae, spent the time to think about it, talk to a few model makers. I would imagine, what tools would you like in something like this? And this 9 is what's come back, and that's what they've decided to put into this tool. So that is the new multi-tool from Dspiae. It's an interesting amalgamation of say 9 different tools. If that's something that you feel that is very useful for you, it could absolutely be an essential part of your model making tool set. So any questions and any queries, as always, do come back to me, and of course keep on modeling.